Hi.
Okay, we're going to be like that today, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. Folks, welcome back to episode 4 of series 6 of your Time Starts Now Taskmaster podcast. You know who we are. I should very quickly apologize that there is some noise coming from outside my window. There are some rowdy people in the queue at my university student union, which is literally 30 seconds from where I live.
If we're doing that, I'll apologize too because it's nice out, but last night it was like 30 degrees Fahrenheit, so the air conditioner's off in my house, but now it's hot out, so I have the windows open and the people down the street are redoing their roof.
Also, it's October, and you know what that means? Emerson's birthday's coming up.
Shit, yes it is. I have to send you something. Thanks for
you don't have to.
When is it?
Please don't. I didn't. I feel bad because I didn't send you anything. You didn't even tell me when your birthday was.
It's early December.
Early December. I will. I know what. I'll make sure to send you, at the very least, a message on Instagram.
Okay.
But if I can also remember, I'll try and send you 2 birthday cards. One from last year and one for this year.
Okay.
How much did it cost you to send your thing to me last year?
Postage was $1.30.
$1.30. That's not that bad.
It's international stamps are not expensive if it's letter mail.
If it's a letter, it's like I wouldn't have a problem paying somewhere around that. I wouldn't have a problem paying, say, less than £3. But
I bought the whole box. I bought a whole book of stamps for that for future use.
So what were the stamps like? I can't remember what the stamp was. Did it have pictures of the now deceased Queen Elizabeth? Those would be Royal Mail stamps. I just
U.S. postal stamp, U.S. postage, the international stamps from the USPS. Hi, this is Stamp Talk now. USPS international stamps have, I think, some kind of flower on them.
What's your favorite stamp,
I've never
Joe?
seen. Oh God, I got some ones for the total eclipse a couple of years ago that actually were the ones where they were like minor, like kind of heat sensitive, so you can press your thumb on it and the moon on the stamp disappears with your body heat.
Oh, that's cool.
So it shows that there's an eclipse.
My favorite's a tramp stamp.
Oh, okay. I have the fucking meaningful answer that's actually real, and you're just gonna make a tramp stamp joke. Okay.
What? Well, I never miss a chance to make a good joke.
I thought we were talking about philately. You're making jokes.
No, that's the humor. I want you to talk about something serious, and then I say something funny.
Okay.
Welcome to your Time Starts Now Taskmaster podcast. We have fun here.
Yes.
Yeah. Shall we BMX through this episode BMXing? And I'm saying
yes.
B so much because the waveform is going to fucking hate me for making this B sound so much.
Sure. Yeah. That could be the B emoji could be the title of this episode.
No, we can't make emojis titles because then people will, if they wanted to say search for the episode in particular, they might struggle for it. It's like, for instance, why Ed Sheeran's album Divide had the word divide written in it, because the divide symbol's hard to find on a keyboard. So you could just type in the word divide.
Episode title B emoji.
We'll see. We might find something better. Anyway,
okay.
BMXing, episode 4.
And I would like to start off by noting that this is an episode of several firsts that have never happened. Okay. There are some never before seen elements in this show, starting with the title. BMXing, which is a quote from one of the later tasks in this episode, is the first Taskmaster episode where, when the title is shown at the beginning of the episode, there is a punctuation other than a period at the end of the title. Every other episode title, it has been like a small warm prawn full stop. This is BMXing exclamation point.
Or exclamation mark, as I would say.
It is exclamation point, not period. That has never happened before.
Instead of period, I would say full stop.
I am aware of what it's called in England. I have spoken in American English for my entire life. That doesn't come out easily.
Let's talk this. Actually, before we talk prize tasks, Alex has brought in a new assistant for him. We now have Little Ian. And
that is another first.
That
We've
is
never
another
gotten
first.
the banter bit has never involved bringing in another human.
I mean, technically, they not for the banter, but they did bring someone in originally, someone in before for a quick one-off joke. Remember back in season 5, the episode where they did the task where you had to find 10 different things on the scene in front of you, and they swapped out.
No. I meant
I know. I'm saying that they've had someone. They've had a new face.
Yeah,
before,
no, they've had a new face, but no, as part of the opening show banter, usually the joke is that Alex has perfume or Alex has something else like that. We have never gotten before Alex actually having a second person come with him on as part of the bit.
Yeah, that's true.
Or anything like that.
And it's very interesting because we get to see, for once in his little life, Alex Horne talking like Greg would, maybe even worse to Little Ian.
Yes, and, because Greg made him get rid of Little Ian, and Alex is like, "Get me a car. What would you like? I don't give a fuck. It's so long as it's silver."
Yeah, and he says really, really aggressively.
Yeah, I know. It was kind of surprising.
So Little Ian goes off somewhere. And we're introduced to the prize task, which is for this week the most thought-provoking thing. And so what everyone has brought in, we start with Asim. And Asim has brought in a portrait of a 17th century Iranian prince that he claims is his doppelganger. Like, when you see the picture, he does look remarkably like Asim.
I think I have a Canadian doppelganger.
Do you have a picture of him?
Okay, so I don't know. So, like 6 years ago, I went to Canada because Canada Day is July 1st and 4th of July is July 4th. Those are the two. And if you're in Niagara Falls, in the Niagara Falls region, you can see fireworks displays every night between the 1st and the 4th. So my family,
that's quite cool.
Yeah, so we went out to Niagara Falls, and the Canadian side of Niagara Falls is nicer than the American side. And so...
What's it like on the Canadian side? Is it like a whole different world?
The Canadian side is, it's more of a touristy area. The American side is more of, it's got a couple casinos, and then it's like the one U.S. Falls, but the most Niagara Falls is on the other side, so all the Canadian side is much more built up and touristy.
Not really what I imagined upstate New York to be like.
Upstate New York is very upstate New York, and you have to go there to kind of get it. It's a lot of places is the industry left.
I mean, it's what, like, you've got the biggest city in the country, and it's very, very densely populated city as well. So you're basically seeing people everywhere.
No.
And then I'm talking about New York City, of course. No, it'd be weird if I was referring to someone like Buffalo or something.
Upstate New York begins at the border between Westchester County and the rest of the state.
So basically, like, you cross over from I think it's the Bronx.
Yeah, the Bronx.
The northern most urban point of New York, and then you're suddenly into, as Randy Feltface put it, an episode of Whitey McWhiterson Goes to Whitopia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's not incorrect. And then as you go further north, unless you're following the Hudson River Valley, it's farm country.
I know a little bit about New York from the Randy Feltface special Purple Privilege, where he does a gig there.
I know a lot about New York because my parents are both from there. Also, we're now 2 tangents deep, and it's been like 10 minutes.
We've had worse.
To backpedal up a tangent, I went to Canada for Canada Day, and then for 4th of July, and this was several years ago, and apparently, and like 15 people at various points came up to me and either tried to interact with me while ignoring my parents who were standing next to me and look and we all dressed up for 4th of July, so we all look the same. They all come up to me.
Did you just go here with your parents, or did you go here with your brothers as well?
It was a family trip.
Oh, so all your brothers.
And I think no, David and Jonathan did not go, so it was just my youngest brother. We went up there.
What's your youngest brother called?
Tony. They went up to me and nobody else, or they would try and tell me that they saw me on television, which makes me think that I am not, that I have a Canadian doppelganger. The only person who I can think of who would be it is a Canadian actor who is, let me Google his name, because he's in like one movie I've seen.
Tell me his name and I'll Google it as well. This is great content, by the way. Shall I discuss Tim while you look?
I think his name is Tyler Labine, but he looked a lot more like me several years ago, because
he looks like he's had a really weird. He looks like he's had a really weird nose job.
I couldn't begin to say. I really noticed the connection because he starred in a comedy horror movie called Tucker and Dale versus Evil, and it's a great movie. It's like a cult classic. It's a send-up of all the horror movie genres. He plays the role. He plays which one is he? He's Dale, and in that role he looks a bit like me, and so it was very interesting.
I'm looking at the poor quality image of the poster. He's not wearing sunglasses, so it's extremely hard to tell. Tim Vine. So I think it's important to preface Tim's thought-provoking thing with his decision to collect records, and that's vinyl. But Tim
I do that too.
Is it vinyl?
I collect a lot of different kinds. It's better than shellac. It's better than shellac records, I'll tell you that much.
I can't tell if that was a joke or not.
No, vinyl is better than shellac because shellac records break because they're very brittle.
Anyway, Tim has brought in a Bill and Kate vinyl record with a confusing cover, and
it is. I love small volume. I love old record covers like these. It's so stupid looking.
It like Tim says, that out of focus. Could this possibly be an example of early Photoshop? Because it doesn't look like they were in the same room when their photos were taken. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's so dumb.
I don't really have a lot to say.
I think it's funny. I Googled who these people were. Apparently, the Billy Cotton Band show was a radio broadcast on the BBC Light program, which aired from 1949 to 1968. Kate in this was Kathy Kay, a singer from Lincolnshire. And she died in 2005. And then Billy Cotton died in 1969.
Wow, that's a long gap. Anyway, wow, what tangents we've been on. Lisa has brought in some of Nikola Tesla's files to represent his extremely thought-provoking life. She sells it okay, but the thing itself I wouldn't be interested in. I said she sells it okay, and I was being generous.
I didn't really care for. I mean, it's not really the most thought-provoking thing in the world.
I mean, you could probably sell them on eBay or something for a little bit of money.
Oh, they're probably just reproductions that they printed up, but it's like the idea of Nikola Tesla is not particularly thought-provoking.
Why did I think that they were the original copies of his files?
No, Lisa didn't. This is actually, I do want to mention, this is one of the lowest concept, like, prize entrances we've ever gotten, or actually highest concept, I'm sorry, because you've got Asim and then Tim and then Alice have brought in actual objects, but Lisa and Russell Lisa brought in an idea of Nikola Tesla, and then Russell, as we'll find out in a second, brought in a story as opposed to an actual.
I do want to say
thing.
it's a pretty entertaining story when you think about it.
It's great, but it's like, when you think of it, usually that's not how these things go.
I realize we spend a lot of time on the prize tasks because usually what you see is what you get with them, and we have to come up with our own interpretations with them ourselves. Yeah. With the VT tasks, usually all the explaining is done for you, and there's not really need to. Obviously, you can talk about certain things, but you can't really go in depth about what you see.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, there are exceptions to that. I stress.
And anyway, on the topic of what you see, what you get, what did Alice bring in?
Alice Levine brought in Judge Judy's book, Don't Pee on My Leg and Tell Me It's Raining, which is a very interesting book title, if I do say so myself.
And it features various comments that are so shallow that you think it's deep because you have to think about it for a second, like, wait a minute, that's not right.
It's sort of like when someone asks you, why did the chicken cross the road?
Yeah.
It's like at the other side, it's like, oh, okay. But then you actually think about the other interpretations of the joke, and it's like, oh God, this got dark real quick.
Yeah, Judge Judy is, and I will point out that for anyone who doesn't understand this, Judge Judy is a television judge in the United States she actually is a judge. Her rulings are legally binding, but it is a borderline sideshow that goes on syndicated daytime television and is usually lowest.
Could it be described as, because like the British version of that would be Judge Rinder, which is nowhere near as ruthless. But
no,
I was going to say Judge Rinder specifically is, I don't want to say petty crime, but like it is literally.
That's Judge Judy. Okay, Judge Judy is petty, but it's not crime. This is she's a family court judge. So this is, my man left me for his other woman or something like that.
Oh,
or
that. I mean, like, I say petty is in like sort of like typical TV drama is what I've seen.
Yeah, except
like
these are actual real life cases. And the appeal of the show is watching, for those who watch it, it's lowest common denominator of insane people yelling at each other or getting yelled at by Judge Judy, or both.
Judge Rinder never really shouts. He's probably only shouted a few times. But he's less developed. He's less of a. He's more just like someone who sort of pops up doing other things now. Like he'll probably do Strictly. I think he's probably done Strictly already. But yeah, you sort of like. Do you know who Ed Balls is?
Ed
Balls.
You mean British politician famous for tweeting his own name because he thought he was searching it? Ed Balls?
Yes, he's not a politician anymore. He's sort of delved into the realm of occasionally appearing on slightly political panel shows, and occasionally just like he appeared on Would I Lie to You once or twice, I think, and he appeared on Richard Osman's House of Games. That's the sort of caliber of celebrity he's become now, if you get an idea.
Yeah, Judge Judy is more of a... Okay, is the Jeremy Vine show where everybody comes out and yells at each other?
Yeah, it's sort of like family.
Imagine Judge
You mean
Judy
Jeremy
is,
Kyle? Jeremy Kyle.
Jeremy Kyle. I'm sorry, not Jeremy Vine. Imagine if Jeremy Kyle had the ability to legally enforce someone's child support proceedings.
That would be very scary. His show's not on the air anymore because
that's
all the controversy.
That's what Judge Judy is. Everybody is yelling at each other. Judge Judy is notable for shouting at her, for shouting at the people just as much as they are shouting at each other.
I just want to say, Joe, I love you, but we're about 20 minutes in, and
yes,
we should keep
are.
going.
Yes, we are.
Russell.
What did Russell bring?
Russell has brought in a photo of a Buddhist monk who sat next to him.
Well, he didn't.
It's not that. Sorry, he brought in a Buddhist. He brought in a photo of a Buddhist monk playing on an iPad, and tells the story of how he actually sat next to a monk on a flight, a Buddhist monk on a flight, who also took out an iPad and started tapping at a fidget spinner app that was on the iPad. And he sort of made me. It made him. I mean, also me, but not to a lesser extent. It sort of made him question what Buddhist monks really get up to.
Yeah, that is again one of the weirdest, concepts prizes we've ever gotten in on this show, where he literally just brings in a picture to support a story. I honestly kind of think it's cool, but also this is not like how this is supposed to work.
It's the equivalent of like, have you seen It, the new It, with Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise?
No. If you ask, have you seen, and then the question is a horror movie? No.
All right, I thought Stranger Things might have been the new season of Stranger Things. I don't think you've seen that either.
No.
All right, what's an example of a film that uses or TV show where a character wears like a lot of practical effects, makeup, and stuff to make them look like the character they see on screen? So there's no CGI; it's full practical effects that you've seen.
Star Trek.
Okay, Star Trek, for example. And it's sort of seeing that character in that scenario looking very inhuman, sort of sitting off to the side on their phone or drinking a drink from their coffee cup. It's sort of just like, obviously it makes sense, but at the same time, it's a slightly cursed image.
Everybody says cursed now as like as a thing for things that are not cursed.
All right, I'll say blur. I'll say it's a blurst image. Like, it's extremely cute, but at the same time, it makes you feel a weird thing. Like, to go back to Stranger Things.
Maybe I view the world differently than everybody else, because that doesn't do anything for me.
To go back to Stranger Things, in season 4, the most recent series, they introduced the big villain of the series, and it's this humanoid creature who got banished to the alternate dimension called Vecna. And Vecna was once a human, but now he's just sort of developed into this scabbed shell of his former self. He looks extremely inhuman. One of his arms is now longer than the other, for example. And it's 90% practical effects. Like, the only things that were not practical were the hollow cutout where his nose was. They just sort of like put the little dots on it. But for most part, what you saw on screen was what the actors saw. So it made it extremely exciting to see these behind the scenes photos of him chilling with his castmates, having a laugh, taking a phone call, sitting on I think there's a picture of him sitting on the bonnet of his car in like a rap star photo album while he's in costume as this weird decayed monster. And then to see him on screen threatening to kill people's lives with no mercy. It's so strange.
Okay.
Do you see what I mean?
What you
see behind this, what you see and what you think.
See, this is thought-provoking because it's taken us 10 minutes to get to the point.
We didn't do this last week, but that would be my thought-provoking thing. I mean, it makes more sense if you've seen Vecna and you understand his character, but then to see these behind-the-scenes photos of just his actor chilling, doing his thing, makes you feel very strange. And not in a bad way, but also not in a good, slightly, not in a bad way, but just a weird way, if you see what I mean.
Way to go into last place, Emerson. I don't feel anything from that.
Just because you don't doesn't mean anyone else will.
I know. If I am the Taskmaster, though, I don't know what the fuck I would do.
To be fair, though, if you're Taskmaster Joeing me, I'm the only one here. So joke's on you. No matter what, I've won.
Nil point. No points.
This isn't Eurovision. You can't
get out of here with that shit.
The only way you can give me nil point is I've ultimately failed the task in a horrific way.
Nil point provokes no thoughts. Get out of here.
Fucking dickhead.
I don't know what
Scores. Russell Howard's extremely bizarre story smashes it to get 5 points. Tim Vinyl gets 4. Alice gets 3. Lisa's stuff on Nikola Tesla gets 2. And Asim is fuck off last again.
Yes, and drop Taskmaster. We've got to do the Taskmaster Joe drop, and then the Hawaiian shirt count drop after that.
I was just going to say that. What if I played them both simultaneously?
Oh, fun. I'm sorry in advance, listeners.
Wouldn't that... I mean, it won't be loud. It'll probably just be extremely confusing.
Yes, do that.
It's the Taskmaster and James show. Who's going to tell us what we should know? It's Mr.
Okay, which one do you want to do first?
So, scores. I put Tim in first place because I'll tell you what, the absolute nutcase design of this vinyl record cover, just you could stare at it for an hour just trying to figure out the thought process that went into this, or lack thereof. Russell I put second because I love a good story like that, and you always see these images going around Reddit of Buddhist monks doing things that Buddhist monks are not normally associated with. Then I'm going to put Alice Levine in third because Judge Judy does in fact provoke thoughts. They're not smart thoughts, but thoughts nonetheless. And then I'm putting Asim and Lisa in joint fifth place because having a doppelganger does not particularly inspire. Is not particularly like. It's not particularly
doesn't inspire much within you.
No, especially when it's a 1700s Middle Eastern print and Asim Chaudhry is very clearly Middle Eastern. So it's like it would be.
They could never be seen in the same room together, so it would be even less thought-provoking.
It would be thought-provoking if he'd said, "Hey, maybe I checked my ancestry and I could be his descendant," but he didn't do that.
Okay. And then, you want to do this task, don't you?
And then hold on, Lisa.
The Hawaiian shirt count.
No, Lisa, I'm putting in last as well because it's think about Nikola Tesla is not like a thought-provoking thing. You have one thought and then it ends. And then onto the Hawaiian shirt count very quickly. We have 1. Alice is wearing a very lovely flower print dress.
There was a devastating absence for 2 episodes of the Hawaiian shirt count.
Yes, because there wasn't anything. And
we should have should have asked me to drop it anyway, and you should have said big fat 0. Move on.
We can do that. We can start making that a distinct thing at the top.
All right, and now you can give me a break from talking, although you've spoken a lot as well. Talk about the first VT task. Joseph.
I will. Right before that, there is one other version of this task in the international version. Season 2, Episode 6 of Sir Mistari had this, and then we're going on to the first task, do something manly with a cardboard box. More specifically, the task reads, do something manly with this cardboard box. Manliest thing wins. You have 20 minutes. Your time starts now. First impressions from the people... Alice asks for a woman, and Alex says he will go get her one. I assume he went down to the woman's store and picked one up. I'm not entirely sure.
There's a joke in there somewhere about you saying that women are property and need to be bought.
That's how Alex was referring to it in the context of this. So I'm running with the joke.
This goes to show how little I pit. I mean, I said I.
Speaking of
Speaking of people who can't speak, yeah.
And speaking of objectification of people, we see Tim Vine go first, where he thinks that manliness is tied to men posing outside and looking generally sexy. See, he is therefore standing on the side of the road in the cardboard box with his shirt off, posing. He is notably not that well fit, but he is having a go of it anyways. You know, honestly, it's a much better thing for just showing body positivity. And
I wrote in my notes that this would be, I've never taken drugs, but I think if I took drugs, this would be something I'd see, which I think would be quite interesting.
Fascinating. I do want to ask you this. The song that was playing during this bit, because there was it seemed like an actual pop song. Is it called Tasty? I don't know what it was.
I don't know. Is there like a trivia section about this one task on Taskmaster?
No, I am on Taskmaster.info, and I have not. It does not, in fact, say that.
Whether the song was or existed before the show or not, it wasn't copyrighted, or at least not enough for the scene to be muted.
Or they had the license.
Yeah, that's true.
But
what's
anyway,
a licensed song you would like to see on Taskmaster?
Oh, like a real big one, like something from ABBA or Queen. Like
I had because every normal Taskmaster fan has envisioned themselves on the show, right?
Yes.
So I envisioned myself, if I was on the show, I would wear a full, for the sake of being I'd say environmentally friendly, cruelty-free, I wear a full faux leather biker uniform that's black and has my name painted on the back. It's like black and orange. And then I sort of come in through the gate and Slow Ride by Foghat is playing as I walk in.
No,
which I think would be quite hard.
Okay, so the music that I would like to see in Task is I would definitely love to see some kind of task that requires it being set to music. Like, do this thing set to this song, best wins. Like,
play musical statues for the longest.
No, I was thinking like
that would be a fun task.
Like, do the best parkour routine set to this Daft Punk song. Or something like that, like some kind of music video-esque task.
Oh, that's okay.
I think this would have to be a much higher budget Taskmaster than what we get. But
I mean, I think a musical statues task would be fun. Just sending them all off to dance to themselves, but they don't know how the competition's done.
Yeah, that could be. There's a lot.
Anyway, should we talk? It's my fault. Yes. Shall you talk about what Asim and Alice do?
Yes. So we get after that we get Asim and Alice. These both take place in the lab because I didn't mention this. The box is presented to the contestants in the lab. The task is actually stuck to one side of it. Asim has
interestingly on the side closest to the contestant. So when you look down, you don't see the task staring back up at you. It's sort of like
It's neat. Asim created the iFeel, which is an iPad on top of the box. The box looks like a robot now. I think he's taken like the legs from Bernard the mannequin and he stuck the box on top of them. He's put little
Did
hands
Bernard exist yet?
Yes.
What? Because I keep thinking I know Bernard was in a series 10 episode
multiple times before, going at least back to season 4, because every time we come up with the mannequin, we remember that Bernard is his name. I'm sure that it has been mentioned in the comments already once before, because every couple of episodes we have this conversation. Anyways, maybe it wasn't Bernard, maybe it was a different mannequin. Anyways, the box has giant cardboard ears and cardboard hands sticking off the side of it now, and Asim has recorded a message on an iPad that he's playing against. So it's like he's talking to a robot. And he's talking about how he feels that he's like a promotion. How he feels like he's not. People
don't notice his emotions enough.
And like so the I
like
feel
the whole toxic masculinity thing. Yeah, about, Men later deserve to cry, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. The I feel told him it was okay to have feelings,
Sorry, I didn't mute my microphone.
Which is a very modern way to take on manliness. And then on the other side of this, we have Alice, who, after Alex came back from the woman's store with a woman, we're not giving her name. She is in a blue and white striped shirt.
Should we just call her woman?
She is store-bought woman. Store-bought woman. Alice is standing in the box with store-bought woman. With store-bought woman with a jar of money. She asks, store-bought woman will be portraying woman. Alice will be portraying a man. Alice pays woman to recite the lyrics to Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. She pays her £20. There's obviously a lot more money in the jar. And then Alice recites it for woman and pays herself the rest of the money, which is supposed to be a criticism of the gender pay gap, which is, I'm going to go out on this. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say I don't think that the gender pay gap is what I would think of first as manliness. Like gender pay gap is sexism, but sexism is not manliness. But we'll get to that as we go through the scoring round in the Taskmaster Joe segment.
I did write for Alice more politics ? I got minor flashbacks to when we did Taskmaster USA and people would force political messages into tasks.
Well, I mean, the gender pay gap is a thing that's happening. I think that it's not... The gender pay gap can happen to anyone for a great variety of reasons. It's not just because of manliness. Which, boy, that's going to be a take that someone will have on that. But anyways...
Hey, you said it, not me.
I know. Then we cut to commercial, which I want to note another first. This is the scene from the previous episode we did with Lisa's spinning drill.
Yeah, and the lizard's just turning without sight of giving up.
Yeah, which I would like to point out is the first time that we've seen another task from a prior episode being used as the commercial break ident.
Are you sure? I swear you've seen it before.
No. We have seen sets from other tasks and things from other tasks, but this is the first time that the ident has just been the contestant's response to the task as the bit of it.
Okay, well, this is your job on the podcast.
It's my job to notice these absurd little details. If I'm wrong, please do let me know in the comments. I'd love to be corrected.
Please, Joe. Nearly 40 minutes in. We're
going. Okay. Then we get we come back from the commercial and we get a great soundbite.
There were manly things going on, Greg. Remember, Asim and Alice made in turn a poignant remark on the male psyche and an important statement on the gender pay gap. Yes, also, Tim Vine took his top off.
And then following that, we get a couple portrayals of what could be deemed negative masculinity with what Lisa and Russell did. And just to note, Tim did his thing by himself. Asim and Alice were shown together, and then Russell and Lisa were together as well. Lisa's is the age-old portrayal of the man coming home from work, falling asleep in front of the television. The box is portraying the man. Lisa comes in, takes away a dirty plate that he's eaten, and puts a cup of tea in front. A production thing to note, the television is an old CRT monitor, probably one of the Sony Wiga or Trinitron ones from the No. This is a 2000s thing. This is one of the big Wiga WEGA or
that makes me feel
Trinitron units that started coming out in 01 to 07.
Well, that makes me feel old.
These are some of the last things that before LCDs and flat screens started coming out. And they obviously did not actually turn it on because CRTs make a high-pitched noise that you can hear. And so they've actually...
That was my impression of a high-pitched noise.
You can very clearly tell... Well, you can't clearly tell, but you can see that it's actually just whatever golf TV show they have stretched to fit the confines of the screen in After Effects. It's really interesting if you know how to look, because I do things where I film old CRT televisions and it's a pain in the ass to do. They definitely didn't do that. They just did it in post. Then
is that why they did the thing in Buckaroo Banzai?
What? Which thing?
We talked about the TV screen being stretched or very obviously pasted over the TV.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it is super hard to film CRT screens because CRT screens refresh from the top down with it basically there's one pixel that flashes across the screen thousands of times a second and redoes each line of the screen in turn and from top to bottom. And so if you've got anything with a digital shutter like a VHS camera or a smartphone camera or anything else, you're going to catch it in between the signal cycle, and so it's going to look like there's lines going through it. You can tweak camera settings and TV refresh rates to match it, but it takes a long time. They've done it for like big budget Hollywood movies, like the first
Joe,
two Star Trek
talk
movies.
About the task.
Okay, you asked. I know.
I wanted you to summarize it in maybe 30 seconds.
Too bad. Anyways, finally, we get Russell Howard, who...
Can I tell you my notes for this one?
Mm-hmm.
All I wrote was, Jesus, man, go easy on the crack.
I thought it was hilarious. Russell Howard is taking masculinity to its logical extent, which is he is standing... He takes off his shirt.
Read what it says on taskmaster.info, because I love this description.
Okay. Russell stood in the cardboard box topless as he cut a plank and spoke to Alex like he was his dad. That is entirely accurate. It is very obviously like based on Russell's idea of hyper masculinity, which it is hilarious.
It reminded me of when they did the Make This Little Man Go on the Most Amazing Journey, and
yes,
Russell was like the football coach.
Yes, that's exactly what this is. This is a great.
Think more enlighteningly.
Yes, or in this point, he's like, you got to get a girl, or to like get a job, go take a hammer, go down to the abattoir and start smashing things. Start taking names is what he said. It's hilarious. The entire time, as the bit goes on, Alex is trying not to laugh. Russell is trying not to laugh. Russell's got like written on his body, like as tattoos, like beer, Clarkson, Top Gear, tobacco, barbecue.
Stereotypically masculine things.
Yeah, it's hilarious. He's cutting a piece of wood between two oil barrels. It's while shouting. It's great. I loved this one. If you want to drop the Taskmaster Joe thing right here, really quickly. Boom.
It's the Taskmaster and his name is Joe and he's gonna tell us what we should know. It's Taskmaster Joe.
Russell, hands down, first place. Lisa is next because, as Greg will say when he scored it, it made him feel a little bit sad. I felt a little bit sad looking at it too, and I'm like, no, that Russell's made me laugh, so he gets ahead of this one. But Lisa's fourth. Asim is third, and then I'm putting Alice and Tim in joint fourth because
interestingly, Greg gave everyone 4 points except Lisa Tarbuck, who got 5.
Yeah, I if I'd known that before time, I would have put Alice and Tim in third place along with Asim, because I stop the video and then score before Greg says anything, so I'm not biased. But
that's a very good point. I honestly, that's a fair point. I respect you for that.
But I did not. I thought that Asim's "It's okay to talk about your feelings" was more manly than gender pay gap issues and also whatever the hell is going on in Tim Vine's head.
Yeah. VT Task 2.1. Have the most fun. You have 3 minutes, at the end of which you must return to the caravan and await your second task. This task is awesome.
This is hilarious.
Both this and both the whole of Task 2, because Task 2 is in 2 parts. So some of the notes I have...
on taskmaster.info, it's actually listed as 2 separate tasks.
I mean, I don't necessarily... That doesn't not make sense. I think it was just split that way to make it extremely clear that the two were... So
I was just
for
saying
organization's sake.
Because on the same thing, their entry on the version of this task in Stormester, which is actually just a single task. So that's what I was sort of saying. Is it seems like this one is supposed to be 2 separate tasks. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, I'll talk about both of them.
Just want to mention. Before we go on, there are alternate versions of this in Director Sevmira Season 1 Episode 2 and Basti Test Season 3 Episode 3.
Basti Test, boy.
Yep, and
anyway, we're back in our groups. We've got Team Funk, Alice and Russell, and we've got Asim, Lisa, and Tim. What were we talking about Team Control Alt Delete for?
Because Asim.
Alt Asim, Lisa, Tim. We've got Team Funk versus Team Control Alt Delete. Because I was thinking, was it CAD something? And then now I'm seeing it as like. So we got Team Funk versus Team Control Alt Delete, as we'll call them. Mm-hmm. Team Funk seem really excited to get fun on. They get all riled up, whereas Russell is like, fun's not really my thing, kind of.
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting that the young people were like, I'd rather just have a bath and play keepy uppies, while it's the older people.
Well, you say young Russell. I mean, not now, but not at the time of this. But Russell's in his 40s now.
That's what I was saying. It's like Russell and Alice appear younger than Lisa and Tim do.
Alice,
and then you have Asim.
Asim's like the black sheep of Team Control.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we'll start with the team of 2. So Alice sat in a bathtub drinking wine whilst Russell did keepy uppies with a football.
Specifically, it was sherry that she was drinking.
I didn't have much notes other than the fact that Russell thinks that some old lady is rubbing herself silly to the thought of him doing keepy uppies or something.
And I liked this I liked how because at first it seems just sort of this absurd, thing you just come up with in the spur of the moment of Russell saying this, but when they have to redo the task, them having to remember that he said this thing about old women masturbating is
even funnier.
Is absurd. And
I mean, for the one person who hasn't seen the episode, way to spoil the second part of the task.
Oh my god. It's whatever.
Hello, 9 people. Throwback to that episode.
Hello. Hi, all 9 of you.
Anyway, we'll quickly talk about the team of 3. Asim, Lisa, and Tim do several things, including, I'm just reading from the info page, hula hooping, BMXing, as Lisa claims, and throwing a potato to each other. They throw the hula hoops around each other. At one point, I think it's Asim throws the potato through the hula hoop, and Tim Vine catches it in his safari hat.
I have some stuff. I had some written down what they did. If you want me to say that.
I mean, you can, but we're on a time crunch here.
Okay, hula hoops, throwing things, generally more energy, throwing things, using ukuleles as ping pong paddles, throwing a potato, dumping out bowls, Asim wearing a bowl on his head while shouting absolutely mental banter.
To be fair, though, that is more my idea of fun. Cause
I mean, I would have had a lot of fun with it too. It's just the energy levels here are so different.
Yeah, the Team Funk is more of like what my parents maybe 10 years ago would do for fun.
Mm-hmm.
My mum also would enjoy sitting in a bath with a glass of wine, but I don't think my dad would do keepy uppies because my dad's really into paddleboarding. Shout out, Dad. Yeah.
Every time I learn a new fact about your parents, it's like unearthing a weird piece of lore about a cryptid. Anyways,
My dad's a younger brother.
Okay.
I'm the only person in my... Here's a fun fact. I'm the only person in my household, so this includes my mum, my dad, and my sister, who doesn't have a brother.
Huh. Interesting.
Anyway, so they all head back into the caravan, and as Joe alluded to, the second part of the task is exactly recreate your 3 minutes of fun. Now, for Team Funk, this wouldn't be too difficult. Oh wait, also, I should say that Greg scored the team's fun. I'll quickly mention it now so that I don't forget. He gave the team of 3 3 points, and he gave the team of 2 points each.
Yeah,
I think simply just based on the fact that the team of 3's fun was more entertaining.
Yes, and also your time starts when Alex shouts his own name, which I thought was funny.
That's true.
I just thought that was funny.
Alex Horn. Anyway, as I was saying before I interrupted myself, Team Funk's reconstruction is quite straightforward. They don't really have to do a whole lot. All that Russell really needs to do is do the keepy ups and remember that he said he was thinking an old woman was rubbing herself off to him. And then they went back into the caravan.
Which is a hell of a sentence.
I mean, I'll find the exact quote and I'll make it the episode description.
Yep. Okay.
Because that's Team Control Alt Delete. They had a lot more to do because theirs was a lot more full on and complex, and they did it extremely well.
Yeah, I was very surprised at how well they managed it, considering how complex their fun was.
Yeah.
I'd also like to mention that they must have been a big wait in between each thing because the production staff, I guess, had to reset what they'd all just done in between each take.
Well, there would have been a lot less to do for Team Funk.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so Greg, for the recreations of the task, Greg awards everyone 5 points. Do you feel the same way about this?
I mean, they did successfully do it, and it's.
Do you want to do Taskmaster Joe?
No,
really?
No.
Okay, we're not doing Taskmaster Joe.
I agree with Greg in this one because they recreated their own fun, and I mean, it was admirable to do. To remember exactly what improv you did.
Should we breeze through the next few tasks?
Yeah. So next one is make the best art using the entire contents of this can of squirty cream, which is, I guess, what you people call whipped cream.
Well, we do call it whipped cream, but squirty cream is another name for it here as well. But yes, it is exactly that.
You have 20 minutes. Your time starts now. So we go on to this. Asim goes first. He does social commentary by filling a bell jar with whipped cream and also a toy giraffe. He surrounds the thing with he surrounds it with like toy dinosaurs and makes a comment on climate change. And which I guess, sure, that's fine. Alice actually painted.
There's a quote I just wanted to get in. It was, sorry to cut you off, but to go back to the manliest thing with this cardboard box task in response to Lisa's, Greg says something about him not being a subservient woman, and then he takes off his glasses, looks at the camera, and says, "Yet."
I did think about mentioning that, and I was like, I don't know how to interpret that.
It's Greg Davies. You can interpret it however you wish. Anyway, sorry to cut you off.
No, that's fine. Alice painted. Alice took the whipped cream, used a paintbrush, actually colored the paint using coffee granules. She painted what was deemed to be a reasonable interpretation of the Mona Lisa. I thought it looked like Jesus, but I might just be wrong. And then we had Russell, who had Alex Horn come in his underclothes, lay down on a mat, and did a body outline of Alex. It was called Diabetic Crime Scene, which Alex apparently was enjoying his two hobbies of ukulele and what else was it? Ukulele and I think
getting neutered.
No, ukulele and something else. I just watched this. God damn it! Hold on. I can go back through the episode while I talk. Ukulele and something else, and ukulele and snorkeling, and he was apparently murdered by someone wielding a pair of bolt cutters who cut his balls off, and which is represented by the fact that also written in whipped cream is "my balls," and it's once Alex is removed from the outline, it's very funny looking. I quite enjoyed it. Next, we have Lisa Tarbuck. Lisa went outside, put some paper on the wall, and then outlined it with the spray cream, which then proceeded to drip down the side of the wall, and she called it art, which I guess it is. I guess it's performance art that is still performing. She called it once. And then we had Tim, who went outside in the driveway and did ER with squirty cream and called it Her Majesty the Cream, because ER is the royal insignia of the now late Queen Elizabeth II, which
it also stands for emergency room, which is a common hospital thing you'll find here in the UK.
Yes. I would also like to point out that Tim's is technically incorrect because, and I learned this ages ago, it's actually E2R with the 2 done in Roman numerals because she is, of course, Elizabeth II. So there's a Roman numeral for 2 in the middle of the E and the R, along with the little crown insignia of the royal family. Charles, for example, would be C3R because he is Charles III now.
Yes, that's right.
Coming soon to post boxes and money near Emerson.
Yeah, near me. Also, another fun fact about the changes for when Charles, like when they start rolling out the stamps with Charles's face. I can't remember which face that the stamps with Elizabeth. I can't remember which direction she faced on the stamps, but whichever way
they face to the right now, and Charles is going to face to the left.
Yes, so basically, so that at a glance, if you're just looking at it from afar, you can tell that it's a different person.
Yeah, they do that. They've done that on banknotes and stamps since the 1700s. When William becomes king in probably 20 years, it'll be the other way again.
Yeah.
Anyways, so. Do we want to drop the Taskmaster Joe theme?
Yeah, just drop it here.
It's the Taskmaster and his name is Joe and he's gonna tell us what we should know. It's Taskmaster Joe.
Russell, I put in first place because it was funny. Alice and Lisa, I put second because Alice actually did art, even if I didn't particularly think it was that good. Lisa's is exactly the kind of bullshit modern art that would end up framed on a wall for $1 million. Tim, I give fourth because, okay, listen, Asim's was stupid. He gets 1 point. Greg agrees with me when he did the scores there. Asim is in fifth place. Tim is in fourth place. Russell is in third. Alice second. Lisa first. And then before we go on really quickly, we have the similar tasks, which is only one. It is called Make the Best Cream-Based Art, which they don't use whipped cream. They use heavy cream. Season 3, Episode 1 of Sir Mastari. And then last time, because I didn't mention that, Have the Most Fun in 3 Minutes Master Task is in Season 4, Episode 5 of Stormester and Season 1, Episode 9 of Director Sivmira. Anyways, moving on.
Yep. The final VT task. Remove the £5 note from under the pint without spilling any of the pint. You may not touch the pint glass. If you spill any of the pint, you are disqualified. So, let's quickly talk about this. Who was up first?
First up was Alice.
Alice was up first. So what Alice does is she starts scooping some of the beer out with, I think, an espresso mug. But she spills a few drops in the process, ultimately disqualifying her. But before that, she's able to scoop out enough to sort of shimmy the pound note from under the glass.
Yeah.
And she does so in 3 minutes and 27 seconds, but she was disqualified, so it was ultimately for nothing.
Yes.
Then it was...
Because a tiny droplet spilled off of the cup, and they do a dramatic replay and intercut with Alice getting angrier and angrier at Alex.
And who was next? Was it?
It was Russell.
Because I just wrote in my notes ctm.info. Russell actually drank some of the pint through a straw to make it a lot lighter. He noted that pint is not beer is not or whatever. Yeah, it was beer. Is not supposed to be drunk through a straw at such rapid pace. You're supposed to enjoy it every.
Yeah, it's really
couple
weird.
Of sips.
You don't drink beer with a straw.
I mean, it'd be funny drinking alcoholic some people drink like cocktails and spirit mixes with a straw, but drinking something like wine through a straw would be quite funny.
Yeah, or like beer with a straw. It's like it's the same form factor as soda, but for some reason you just don't. It's really weird.
Maybe because soft drinks and straws are synonymous with children.
No, I do it sometimes. If you get it at a restaurant, it's really, it's just that like I've thought about doing it with beer, and it's just like, no, this is incorrect. This is
anyway. So Asim and Tim are paired together.
Yes.
Asim poured water on the bar, hoping that the banknote would absorb the water, but then he remembered that the money's now made of plastic. So
Polymer notes, baby.
Yep. They're made of plastic, so they won't absorb the water.
It did, however, probably lubricate it, so he was able to push it.
Yeah, and he was able to sort of push the pint glass very gently off with some stirrers, and in 1 minute 20, he removed the £5 note. Interestingly, he was 1 second slower than Russell. At 1 minute 19. Tim, however, pushed the pint off with a brush, although at first he started he tried to sort of anchor the pint down with the brush.
Yeah,
did he?
Well, he tried to hold it down with the brush so that he could pull it out from underneath, but he realized that was just holding the glass down to the table first. Nobody did what I thought to do, which would be to because the glass is filled almost to the top. And so like within an inch, within a couple millimeters of the top, what you should just do is take like a plate, put that over the top, and then nothing can get out, and just yank it.
Yeah, but what if the glass upsets and... Yeah,
well, no, because...
It's like the trick when you're trying to pull a tablecloth off a table and everything on the table is to stay the same. Sometimes it can go extremely...
Well, no, what I was saying is you have a plate with like a ceramic plate. You put it on top, and you've now made a lid so that's flush with the glass so it can't go anywhere. And then you hold down on the plate and yank on the bottom and yank on the note, and it doesn't matter that you're yanking on it because it's not going to spill because there's a plate on top.
I mean, fair enough, but then that's basically the opposite of what Lisa did. She tried to just yank it straight out from under the thing in the tablecloth on a table with everything on top of it style. But I was unfortunately disqualified because some of the stuff jumped out.
Yeah, Lisa yanked it, the glass jumped. That, she was like, am I quick enough? No.
Okay. The scores. What are the scores? I keep getting distracted. 2 people were DQ'd, Alice and Lisa. Russell got 5, Asim 4, Tim 3.
Yep. And then on to honestly one of the best live... Okay, hold on. Before we start...
It's a great live task to watch.
Yeah.
You can kind of talk about it as well.
Yes. Also, just before we go, Remove the Banknote Under the Glass has several different versions, all of which are slightly different. Basti Test Season 4, Episode 5 is the contestants are instructed not to spill any raspberry juice, only to later discover that the glass is actually full of strawberry juice.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good.
Then Kongen Befaller Season 2, Episode 3 has a tower of champagne glasses that they have to extract the note from the bottom and then put it inside the assistant's pocket. And then finally, Stormester Season 5, Episode 2, they have they must remove as much cash as possible from the champagne tower, and that because I think and then place it inside the host's pocket, the assistant's pocket.
Ooh, that raspberry and strawberry juice one is amazing. Like that is so good.
Yeah.
That might be like, if I ever do like my own version of Taskmaster, just casually with friends, that task is making it in. Anyway, talk the live task, Joe, and get it done so we can all go home.
Yes. Live task. Let me get that pulled up. Shake hands with the Taskmaster without revealing your identity. More specifically, when tapped on the shoulder, shake hands with the Taskmaster without revealing your identities. You may not speak during the task. Everyone must shake hands with the Taskmaster once for at least 2 seconds. If the Taskmaster guesses your identity, you are eliminated. The task continues until we have a winner. Now, this is another first. This is the first time that Greg is not only involved in the task, but also that the first time that Greg goes up onto the stage. He is blindfolded, and people go up in this order. First, Alex demonstrates how to do it with the aid of little Ian again, who comes out and shakes Greg's hand. And Alex actually makes the slip of saying, like, you can go instead of I can go to little Ian as he does that, but Greg doesn't notice. And so Greg just thinks that was Alex until Alex says otherwise. First up to go is Asim. He gets eliminated immediately because, as Alex says, he tried to disguise his hand with his very recognizable sleeve, with his very distinctive jacket sleeve. Then up goes Alice, who folds her middle finger in to shake to her palm and then tries to shake his hand, which makes Greg guess Russell, which utterly confuses Russell to no end. Tim goes up next, and whatever he did, it got him guessed immediately. Lisa went up and really quickly tried to shake Greg's hand, and he still managed to guess it was her. Also, nobody's supposed to talk. Tim and Asim both swore audibly immediately after they got eliminated. So this might have also assisted Greg.
And that says something about Tim, because he rarely swears, even in his comedy.
Yeah. And then
he's like Mr. Beast.
I don't know who that is. Anyways.
Oh my God.
Who?
Mr. Beast.
Who?
He's like the third or fourth biggest YouTuber ever.
Okay. I don't.
Your people hate on Joe for not knowing who Mr. Beast is. Keep going.
Sure, I don't know hot YouTuber of the second. Anyways, finally we get Russell Howard, who is absolutely loving this. He marches up to Greg, takes his shoes off, throws them on the ground, making Greg jump. He gets real up close to Greg's hand, breathes on it, and then shakes it, and then Greg guesses it anyways. And so Russell's eliminated. Everybody who is eliminated goes and sits down, and it's just Alice that's left.
I thought it would be super obvious that it would be Russell after he threw his shoes.
No, because I think Russell's just trying to.
If I was in Greg's position, I think that is such a Russell thing to do.
I would not have.
Remember in the task with the grape, he put the grape in his pocket and forgot.
I would not have considered that as a specifically Russell Howard thing to do. I would think that it was somebody else messing with me. There wasn't a lot of mind gaming, but anyways, Alice wins the task. Little Ian remains out till the end of the episode. When they come back down to the studio, and then Russell ends up winning the episode entirely.
Yep. Russell Howard wins. We're nearly at the halfway point. What have we learned today, Joe?
Nothing.
Great. This podcast was a total waste of time. We'll see you all next week. Bye.
Bye.